Young and flourishing, transforming Africa. I believe that you are having a good time this evening with your family or wherever you are, you who is still on your way back home. Yeah, thank you so much for choosing Church of Uganda Family TV this evening. And Flourishing Hub is the program you are watching. Now, Flourishing Hub is a program brought to you by Young and Flourishing Foundation. And Young and Flourishing is built on 4 pillars, which we've already talked about. And I remind you about these 4 pillars before we introduce our guest who is already here with us. One is money. The other one is daring. The third one is strategy. And the fourth one is mentorship. And those are the pillars that build or that make up this program, Flourishing Hub, every Monday at 9 p.m. Now, today we are looking at managing cash flow in business. And with us is one of the I would call him a coach, a youth coach. He's so passionate about young people, and it is the reason he has sacrificed his time to be with us here. You know, he wants to take us through this sensitive topic. You know, you talk about finances. Finances are a sensitive topic that very many people are not confident with. But we are also delighted that with us is a CEO. He's a director of a company. Which company we are yet to know. Oh, maybe let me tell you what this company is. So the company is Janaki Holdings. And what is Janaki Holdings? What do they do? That is all we are going to know. And how do they manage the finances? How has it grown for all these years that it has been in existence? So with us is the one Mr. Jonan Kandwanaho. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you.
We are delighted to have you this evening.
Thank you, Edrine.
Yeah. Kindly greet those people who have been asking, who could this person be?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I greet you, the audience. My name is Jonan. I'm very, very delighted to be here at Family TV. I'm very, very delighted. So I greet you all. I appreciate you for watching this show. And I believe that the Lord has put something on my heart to share with you. So stay seated, be calm, and then I'll get to share with you what it is that is on my heart. Send you greetings.
Amen. So, Jonan, people out there, some have seen you, some are seeing you for the first time, some are hearing the words from you for the first time. So they really want to know who Jonan is. Yes, we've talked about a little biography about you. You're a CEO, you're this, but there is that Jonan part that I've not talked about that you can talk about more fluent. So who is that Jonan?
Thank you so much. Jonan is marketplace champion, I must say. Marketplace champion, pastor at King Church, Kingdom Influencers Network Church. I majorly support business people. Walk with them the journey, support a number of guys who are doing different endeavors in business, but also I'm married to one wife.
Who is a woman?
No, nowadays it is.
Yes.
Who is a woman? Patience Kandwanaho, and we are blessed with one child, strong, healthy young boy called Investor Samuel.
Investor?
Yeah, Investor is the title.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Samuel Kandwanaho. And yeah, I serve the Lord, but also I'm a family person.
Yeah. Now, I think that takes us to our very first topic. How do you manage these 3? You're a pastor, you're a CEO, you're a family man, you're a coach. You know, it looks a little heavy before someone. So how do you manage all these and you come out victorious in everything?
Thank you so much. I actually must tell you that the number of other things that I do that I've not actually highlighted. Because first, I am a team leader or CEO at Janaki Holdings Limited, which is a microfinance institution. But also, I'm a farmer. I do dairy cattle, as well as I fatten cattle. You buy cattle when they are malnourished, you graze them for some time, they fatten, then you sell them off. But I also have a goats project as well that I run. And alongside that as well, I mentor and coach a number of business people. Most of them have been walking the journey with them, but some of them are actually local, others are out of the country. I actually run a YouTube channel. I do my show every Friday from 5:30 to 6. And it has over 1,000 and so followings. And so I get to support a number of people. So a number of things that I do. But amidst that, I've learned to prioritize. Because I bank on my personal daily schedule. I have a weekly schedule. Actually, I have a monthly schedule. So I know that, if it is a Wednesday, I am meant to actually be holding meetings with these particular people. Outside that day, there are some other things scheduled on the different days. So if you don't have schedule in life, everyone else will give you their program, and you'll have to somehow tailor to their program.
And
if you don't have,
and this is what we always encourage people, that one of the pillars of young and flourishing is strategy.
Yes.
If you're not strategic, then you'll be in other people's strategies.
I agree.
And that is what you're saying.
100%.
Yeah.
So if you don't sit down and know that from Monday to Sunday, I meant to be doing this particular thing on this particular day, then someone else will have to throw you his or her program. And someone will have to align. You've seen people, we used to call them at high school, we used to call them programless. You find someone is moving to Makindye, he says, let's go to Kamocha. He turns, he goes to Kamocha. You're almost nearing Kamocha, someone comes, he's going to Kansang, he says, let's go. Why? Because he does not have the program. So actually, whoever comes along actually gives him a program and he accepts it.
Okay. So that is Jonan. Now, you talked about Janaki Holdings. Now, because Janaki Holdings is now going to derive us to our topic, which is managing cash flows in business. So, what do you do at Janaki Holdings? Why that name? And
yes, as I told you, I am the team leader. I usually prefer to call myself a team leader. I'm CEO, but I'm team leader because I lead a team. And I somehow have to grow some of the tasks that I handle at Janaki Holdings Limited. So that's my key task at Janaki Holdings Limited. How it came to be called Jonakee is quite interesting. How I got the name. So it was one evening, and I was at my farm in Nakasongola, and one of my old boys, OB, calls me. He was actually working in some institution, some government institution. He calls me, says, Jonan, do you have some supplier that you can actually link me to? Because we need someone who can supply us milk. So in my mind, when I had milk, I'm like, you know what? It's just probably I have a farm. I could actually, get milk from my farm and actually send it to these guys. But ideally, he meant milk of, like just packed milk and for the staff. Lo and behold, he says, I need someone who can supply the milk to this institution. We are badly in need of a supplier. So I said, wait, because as I was scrolling through my contacts to see whom I can refer, I said, look, wait, what does it take to supply milk? What does it take? So I said, you know what, Cliff, I can supply you milk. Like, are you sure? Like, yeah, sure. So he said, no, give me the invoice. Send the invoice and the quotation of the amount that you'll be charging per liter, because we need about 50 liters. 50 liters a day. I'm like, fine. So I called one of the guys I had at NASA Road. I said, no man, first get me an invoice there. So he generated an invoice. The name that came quick, because I had been lending money in that name, was Jonakee Investments Limited. So I got invoice and quotation in that Jonakee Investments Limited. So I sent to Cliff. That guy, after drafting, he took to the institution. So when he took the institution, they accepted. Because they usually need 3 companies. So I called some of my friends, they brought their companies as well, 3, they shortlisted one, which was mine. And, lo and behold, I traveled back from Nakasongola. That was a Saturday. So on Monday I traveled back to come and see how I can close this deal. So I reached around, I went there, I said, you know what, I had to look for a person who supplies Jessa milk. Went to One Day Gear, which is close to that institution, told the guy, you know what, you're a retailer, a distributor, recognized, you come and buy milk, I'll buy from you, be delivering at this institution at this particular time. I'll be buying 50 liters. So ideally, I was not participating in the business. So the guy would supply, at the end of the month, I would invoice the institution, they pay me, I give him his card, I get my card. I was not contributing anything. Only that I would pay this guy weekly. But at the end of the month, because I was buying it at 3,000, I was selling it at 5,000. So end of month, I was getting about 900,000. almost 1 million shillings.
Yeah.
So eventually, when they paid the first month, remember my company was not registered.
Yes.
It was Jonakee Investments Limited.
Mm.
So when they paid, you know, I was so I don't know if I can time it, but I was so naive that I didn't even know that if you put the name of the company and a different account number, the amount will bounce back, like when they pay you.
Yeah.
So they paid the first month. It was about, I think, 3 million or something, because it had the input costs as well. So they paid about 3 million, the money bounced. I said, man, I'm not receiving the money. I supplied. They said, no, the account has a problem. It is not tallying with the name. Like, wow, what is not happening? So I double checked. Of course I knew, because I put my Centenary account against the Janaki Investments, which was not even registered. So when I double checked, I confirmed that actually, you know what, I'm in problems. I went to RSB, the company was already taken with someone else.
Yeah.
So what happened is that I tried to look for who were the owners, because I wanted to buy the actual company, the actual owners, buy it from them so I can get the account and then submit it and then get paid. But it didn't work out. I said, you know what, I engaged my lawyer. I said, no. I had to run fast to reserve the name. That's how Jonakee Investments Limited. Now, the only available name that was closed, the closest was Janaki Holdings Limited. So that's how I come to birth Janaki Holdings Limited. Now, that very evening, I saved the name, I reserved it at URSB, I registered the company. Opened the bank account against Janaki Holdings Limited. Now it's admitted to the institution. And they said, you know what, we know Jonakee Investment. So I engaged my lawyer. He says, you know, he wrote to them. He says, you know, this is our new company. This is the account number. It's the same thing, same director. And pay this one. And also divert the other money, put it back. They had jumped. Yeah. But we threatened to sue them because we already supplied them. and that's how it worked out. Okay. And that's how Janaki Holdings Limited came to be birthed. From Jonakee Investments.
To Janaki Holdings.
That's a life of it.
So, what are some of the activities that you do in Janaki Holdings?
We do two prime things. And people will get to check out our website, www.janakeeholdings.com. We do two prime things. We lend money. We lend money. Affordable money, very, very quick. So we do what we call bridge financing. That whereas the bank can tell you come after 3 months, come after 1 month or 3 weeks, for us we can actually give you money in 12 hours. So that's quite an edge. So we do bridge financing to chunks of money. Business leaders, people want to travel, they want to clear your consignment to your car. We give you a facility that can help you clear very fast and sell and then come pay back. Secondly, I mentor personally. I mentor because I think the Lord blessed me with the knowledge that I have, because we've run for about 12 years. So the Lord blessed me with this experience and the knowledge that I have to bless someone. Apostle Moses usually says that, a person that does not pour out, or if something has inflows but does not have outflows, it becomes a dead sea. Yeah. You become a reservoir, meaning that you can't actually grow. So I thought about it, and like, you know what? There are some things that I went through as a person at my 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That if I had someone who had gone through them, I wouldn't have actually gone through them. So it kept haunting me. I'm like, you know what? Let me use my time, schedule my time to know that, in a week, I'll schedule 1 hour or 30 minutes to educate people. And that's how I got to get some of the mentees that I have. Okay. I pour out to young people, I pour out to business people without any reservation. So we have two things, lend money, but also capacitate people. Don't get shocked. Someone comes for a loan, and you're like, man, based on your cash flows, I think that you're better off not getting this facility. Have you tried to explore different options before you came for the facility? But look, I make money by giving out a loan. But you see, my intention is not
getting the money,
getting the profit. Not necessarily the profit. But will you be able to pay? Am I leading to the right thing? So I tell this client, you know what? Based on your cash flows, based on your bank, because we ask for bank statements, based on your bank statements, have you explored the different options? Have you really explored different options? Because as far as I see your financials, if you're going to commit your collateral, you might even lose it. Because you want 100 million, but the biggest amount of money you've ever received is 5 million. So where will you expect the money to pay back the 100 million come from? If you're committing your collateral that is worth 500 million, ultimately that's how people lose their property. Because your cash flow is bad, which is our today's topic. your cash flow is literally bad. You have a cash flow that is in the essence of 5 million, 10 million, but now you want a facility of 150 million because you have a collateral. So meaning that the only thing that you have is to commit that collateral, which will be sold off because you won't afford. So what we do here at Janaki, we are not after foreclosing the item or the property that you've committed as collateral. We educate you. Like, you know what, based on your cash flows, the only biggest amount of money that you can actually afford to pay comfortably, without someone defrauding you or even foreclosing on your item, you can actually afford to pay a loan of 10 million. So either sit down and take the 10 million, or else, I warn you, I actually advise you, I sit them down and advise, if you're going to go to someone else, I know there are some who look at your collateral to give you money. And the money they will give you, but ultimately when it comes to time for payment, you'll struggle to pay. And they'll sell off your collateral. And most of the guys that I've advised and they've not paid heed have lost their collaterals. Someone loses a collateral is worth 1 billion shillings because of a loan of 300 million, 200 million. A number of things have happened.
And then they get back to the media and cry.
And cry, money lenders, microfinance institutions, blah, blah, blah. Yet, you know, you very well know that you don't have the cash flow to pay back that loan. You know very well. Actually, some of them are highly indebted. He has a loan in Standing, he has a loan in the Bank of Africa, he wants from the lenders, then microfinance institution, then from the circle, then investment club. So you actually have the information. It's not that they don't have the information. They have this knowledge, they have this information. But how they consume it or how they use it is what gets out of hand. So that's partly what I do. So those two things is what actually Janaki Holdings does.
Wow, this is so powerful. So I believe by that background, our viewer out there has the confidence in whatever we are going to share, because this is an additional service that is given free of charge.
Yes.
At Janaki.
Yes.
Okay, so it is already stated that cash flow is a life blood of an organization. Now, in simple terms, because in all you've talked about, you always referred to cash flow, your cash flow. How can you break down the word cash flow in simpler terms so that someone out there can understand in a layman's language?
A layman's, I want to make it so lay.
Yes.
So lay. So as you hear the word cash, then flow, meaning that cash, much of the time, it's actually money.
Yes.
But sometimes it could be an asset or something. But also flow, it is flowing. So cash flow means cash coming in your business and going out as a result of your activities in your business or your operations in your business. I'll give an example. If I run a bakery, I make bread, I sell bread.
Yes.
I sell bread. But before I produce the bread, I have the inputs. I have cereals, I have probably some cooking oil, I have some things that I use, some inputs. I have electricity, all these things. So as I sell the bread, I get the money actually to go to buy the inputs.
Yes.
So in my operations, the cash is coming in by buying inputs, then it comes out by the products that I produce, which is the bread. If I bring it closer to Jonakee Holdings, which is the industry I understand properly, that I've been running for quite a while, I sell money. Look, I get money in the company. I could get a loan, or I could get a financier, because the time I was starting, bunch of the money I would get from investors. You get the money, so the money is coming in the business. Or I'd even sell my cattle and get some of the monies. So put in the business, now lend out. So the cash is flowing. So that is the cash flow. So the incomings to the business, and then the outflows, the cash flows. Now, that takes me to another thing, that my business could only grow if the outflows were so smaller than the inflows. It's like a funnel. If the funnel is turned upside down, it means you're earning less, but the exit is huge.
Yes.
This is where you find someone, not only is he losing the money that is in the business or the cash flows, but also he's actually getting more loans as well. But ideally, he's very busy from Monday to Sunday. But if you have to grow the cash flow, the funnel has to be turned upside down. I have to have the money come in, and then as I wash it, as I run it in my operations, it should be little exit in my monies. But for the sake of the example I used first,
Yes.
for the bread,
Yes.
you need to maximize the sales, output as many breads as possible, make the money. Then you can actually come and increase on the inputs. That's how people scale up. So I hope that drives the point of the cash flows.
Yeah,
So how you manage the incomings and the outcomings of the cash in your business as a result of your operations in your business, or as a result of your business activities, is what we can term as cash flow.
Okay. Talking about how to manage the money that comes in and the money that leaves, we are still, some business people are still nursing wounds that came as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is something that took us unaware, something that had never happened, maybe, and we are seeing this for the first time, we are experiencing it for the first time. So very many people didn't know how to go about it, how to manage a lockdown, how to thrive through a lockdown, especially when we talk about the business world. And this saw very many businesses closing down. Up to now, very many businesses are either closing down or still struggling to stand, and so that they can regain the energy they had before the lockdown. So how should we plan for finances for the future, so that when such occurrences come in, we don't cry again?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. One thing I'd like to start with.
Yes.
The businesses that we run are a replica of our individual lives. You see, I transpose how I manage my personal money to how I'll manage the business money. So if my personal management of the cash at a personal level is bad, I'll transpose the same thing, the same behavior, the same handling of the monies to the business. That's the first thing to start with. So meaning that if I am good at cash management, or management of my business, the cash of the business, I'll ably manage at a business level. At a personal level, well, I can ably manage at a business level. That's the first thing to start with. But also, too, it is important to realize that before you think of where the cash will come from, or because someone will tell you, you're telling me cash, because I have the audacity to start saving or put in a club. But this guy tells you, I don't have the cash. I don't have, will I borrow to actually go and save or something? But one key thing I would like to share with the audience is that it is important to explore your business in these 4 areas I'm going to highlight. The first one, if you're running like a shop, establish what inventory that you have. Much of the businesses that we run have a lot of inventory. If you have a hardware, you have an item that has spent there like 3 years. It's not being sold. That is cash sleeping. But you see, as that cash is sleeping, you have a loan that you're paying on. And the bank is not going to wait for you
to sell it.
To sell that item. So if you don't have an inventory management system, to know which things are moving very fast, you see, that's what it means by cash flow, because it has to move. And that's what it means by currency, because it has to flow. The moment you make it stagnant, you cannot grow. You can easily get out of business. So that's the first item. Look at your inventory. Because the problem is usually inside the business. That's the first thing. Secondly, it could be that actually you're pricing badly. You see, there are some guys that are selling items that is worth 100,000, but the person is selling it at 80,000. Lo and behold, you actually get out of business because your costing is bad. For you, you're busy selling, but not knowing that the inputs that you're putting to this bread are worth 90,000.
We have a mentality that sell it cheaply, it's out of stock, bring in new stock, sell it, bring in new stock, sell it.
It is healthy if you're making some margin on that product. I've seen people who sell very cheaply to the extent that it even eats on the cost of goods. I bought something at 90,000, but I'm selling it at 85,000. I'm making a loss of 5,000. How many items will I be able to afford to sell before I get out of business? Because remember, you have to feed, you have to pay rent, you have to continue buying those items. So ideally, you're operating in a loss.
You also have to pay taxes.
You also have to pay taxes. So even before you think of reserving capital, reserving because of an emergency, because I have a few things I'll highlight later on, shortly, that you might have to look at. But you have to look at them if you have positive cash flow. But if you have negative cash flow, you can't even think about them. If your outflows, the cash that you're expending, is higher than the cash that is coming in, you have negative cash flow. That even if you wanted to convince me, Jonan, to come and buy your business, I will not buy it. Look, I'll be buying problems because you're literally struggling. And before you know it, you're going to get out of business. You have negative cash flow. So first you have to make sure, all these things that I'm highlighting, you have to make sure that you have positive cash flow. You have positive cash flow. So explore your pricing. How much are you pricing? Point number 2. Point number 3, expenditure. Someone is starting a new venture that is actually piloting, but he wants to rent on top of church house, 3rd floor. The rent per square meter is probably $50, $100. For Christ's sake, you're just piloting this project. You've not known how it is running. So the expenses are already higher. So meaning that it's going to take you a lot of time to break even, to start realizing profits. So already you've started in negatives. So you have negative cash flow. You cannot afford to have any reserves. So there are a number of things I could highlight. But those I've highlighted, first explore them. First explore them. Monitor expenses. Look at your inventory. Look at how you're managing the actual cash that you have. How are things moving out of your business, how you're selling. And then if you have positive cash flow, because that's your ultimate, you're looking forward to having a positive cash flow. So when you have a positive cash flow, that's when you can afford to have an emergency fund. You see, a business is meant to have an emergency fund as well. Because time is going to come when you're going to grow and you want to absorb another business, acquire another business. That's what we call business acquisition. If I have another microfinance institution that is operating very, very well, and I have my reserves in the emergency fund, I'll acquire that business. What money do I use? I want to go to borrow to come and acquire. Because I don't know how the acquisition will perform. So it is better that I use my own cash to acquire that business. If I want to scale up, if I've been having one bakery and I want to open another franchise or another branch, it's not advisable that I go for a loan. But if I have my reserves probably in a club or a circle, or these things have been there to help us. That's why they are started. So if I have a club or a circle where I can pick cheap money from, where I've saved, then I can afford to scale up without any problem. That even if COVID hit, I'll still thrive. See, there are some businesses that didn't feel COVID.
Yeah, true.
It's not a fact that every business was affected by COVID. As a matter of fact, there are some businesses that started because of COVID.
It is true that your business can be a world-class business, especially if you manage your cash flows very well. We are discussing a very sensitive topic, managing cash flows in business. We know very many businesses have closed, and we've accused people for bewitching us, yet in actual sense they have not bewitched you. The problem is all about your cash flows. And with us is Jonan Kandwanaho, who is from Jonakee
Holdings.
Jonan and Key. Yes. So I feel I want to articulate every word. Janaki Holdings Limited. And we are discussing managing cash flows. So before the break, you were telling us that much as we cry that some businesses closed, there are businesses that came as a result of COVID-19. But we are all wrapping it together to someone, especially young people, now that you're passionate about passing on such information to young people. How can young entrepreneurs keep their cash growing?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that question. The key thing I would start with is that if you're starting and you're still new in business, it is advisable that don't go for loans. don't go for debt. Don't start on a debt. If you're starting a business, you see, you've not explored how it is operating. You're just piloting it.
Yeah.
So it's advisable that don't start on a wrong note. Because you see, if I give you money, I'd expect you to pay after the first month. At least pay interest. But you see, which interest you might not have made in the first month because you're piloting. So it's advisable that before you actually start something, first know that you have some money that you can actually start with. So that before Janaki comes to support, then you actually already taken it stride. Point number 2, it is important, both young and old, it is important that before you start something, you see, you're not inventing this thing. You're not a very first person to do that thing. New things are called greenfield ventures. There are very, very few greenfield ventures. Almost everything that everyone is starting, even today or tomorrow, has been done somewhere in some given part of the country or even the world. So if you're lucky that it's been done in Uganda, and there's usually someone who is doing it well. Someone is actually doing what you're planning to do and is doing it well. You know, us, we have some pride. You think you know it all, you've done your research, and you have some bit of money, and you want to start something. Even when you know there's someone who is flourishing at it, you want to compete with them instead of seeing how you can learn from them. This guy has run it for 15 years. Can you learn from him? So seek wisdom. In all the Bible says that seek wisdom. In all you're getting, get understanding. That even if it costs you silver and gold, please sell and acquire that. But you see, you can get wisdom from this person who has run this business. So I advise young people that if you're starting a venture, look out on internet. That venture you're starting. Look out for that person who is doing what you're doing very well. Learn from them as much as you can. Even if it costs you something. Look, if something costs us something, we tend to value it. I compare 2 courses. There's a course I paid for by myself at UMY. I valued that course a lot to the extent that even if you now sat me down, I could lecture a class in the course that I did. Because I was paying out of my pocket. So I was valuing the content. But you see, the course I was paid for by government, some lectures I'd chop them. Sometimes I would not attend lectures because I was not paying out of my pocket. So if a mentor needs money, pay them. If it's a coach, and if it's a person running the business you want to start, even if it means paying, pay. Because what you're going to get to benefit will be immense. I'll share the last example. I know time is running, but I'll share my example in that area. I was running in Uganda, they called Namnigina. I was running alone when I started, until I learned on one of my mentors. This guy was charging $1 million an hour. I first fidgeted. I said, you know what? I'm going to pay that money. It's madness. And now, and he's a young man, 31 years old. I was even older than him. But eventually I had to bow down and say, you know what? Let me pay this guy. But before I learned, or before I got in the corner to pay him, I'd lost over 70 million because of a bad transaction. And yet when I met him, there are some things that he saved me that were worth millions, of hundreds and hundreds of money. So by paying $1 million, I saved chunks of money. So it's important that you actually learn from someone. As a second thing, if you're a young person starting out. The third thing is study your industry before you actually start. Study. We are living in an information age. I can just sit on my laptop with the internet and get as much information, both local and global, as much as I can. I can get statistics. I can even get on my YouTube and literally learn almost everything on a business. So those 3 things I think are very, very key for a young person starting. That you know, this will give you a jump start, which will have a trickle-down effect on your cash flows.
So at that point, how can small businesses maximize their cash flow and minimize their cash outflow? Because at the beginning you differentiated the two. Now, how can they maximize the cash inflow and then minimize the cash outflow?
Cash comes out of business because of expenditure. So meaning that if I limit on the expenditure, I'll have some cash reserves. If I've been employing 100 people, and because some few branches have not been profitable, I cut them off and employ 50 people. That means I'm almost getting the same cash in, but the little cash is moving out. Meaning that the amount of money that I was using to pay the 30 people, the 50 people that probably have repositioned or have transitioned, I call it transitioning, I've reserved the cash for the business. Now, I've used probably a fire example. The other example I can give, you'll have a business and it will have some branches. Yeah. Which branches you're paying rent? Which branches you're paying utilities? Which branches you're paying food, lunch or something? But you see, you could actually do the same work with 2 branches instead of the 5 branches. So if I close the 5 branches, I've literally cut off the utilities, the rent, and all for the other branches, and maintain the 2 branches, which are giving me the same cash flows, which would have been given by the 5 branches. So now you have to try to limit how much it is that comes out of your business. Now, one thing I want to put across is that it is important that you don't focus on the expenditure. Though I've highlighted it. Don't focus on the expenditure. That when I have these few items that have to exit the money, I now have to focus, how do I make the money? Because sometimes the challenge is not the expenditure. Find someone is employing 2 people. For Christ's sake, would you employ yourself alone? You started that business, but even when you're sick, someone else can run it. Yes. The business should not close because you're sick. So ideally you need someone or 2 people. True. So it's not your fault, but you have 3 people. Now the challenge is, how do you maximize the inflows? How do you maximize the inflows? So sometimes the challenge is not the employees or the number of branches, but rather, how do you maximize the inflows? So you need to explore, how can you make much more money? I want to give the last bit, which is the game changer. Sometimes they call it the business money strategy, but I call it budget. That whereas it's important to have budget at a personal level, the key priority thing to have as a business is to have a budget. Because the budget will determine where your money, or will direct where your money should actually go. Or else you'll keep wondering where your money went. So look, there are some businesses that are run at a net worth of 10 million, and they're much more profitable than a business that is run with a net worth of 100 million. And when you look at how busy it is, the one of 100 million, man, there are people running around, jumping around, selling this, that even if you look at their system, it is interesting. But this guy of the 10 million, because he is running on a budget, because he knows what it is that he's spending on, and is maximizing it, you find the venture is well profitable than the business is worth 100 million. Now, if I come and I want to buy, I'll definitely go for a business that has 10 million. If I want to buy shares, I'll definitely buy in a business that has 10 million. Why? Because numbers don't lie. I have Director Grace, one of my mentors, usually says, the numbers that I keep don't lie. You either have or you do not have. He usually amuses us. So numbers don't lie. If it is 100, it is 100. If you're balancing $1 million shillings a month, it is literally $1 million shillings. I recommend a book, Built to Sell. Built to Sell. That book is a game changer. But this thing guides you on how to build a business as if you intend to sell it. That even when you don't sell it, it will still be profitable. So to benefit you either way. That whether you sell it or you don't sell it, it will still benefit you. And the other thing I want to highlight is that as we are building our businesses, you know, we most of the guys I interact with and I mentor, they ask me, Jonan, you know, I need capital, I need cash, I tell them, look, the time to look for an investor to invest in your business is not when you're struggling with cash. Because you'll be on the wall. And I'll twist you to the edge to what it is that I want. I can even get 60% shares versus 40% shares. You, the owner of the idea. Why? Because you're on the wall. So the best time to ask for money is not when you're on the wall. The best time to ask for money is when you're actually doing well. So if it's your idea, own it. Grow it. Get it to a level when people start to ask you, can I buy shares in your business? I've reached that level. Someone asks you, man, I want to buy shares in Janaki. I said, wait. Sorry. If I want to sell shares, we sit down and talk. I'll have an edge. Why? Because he already sees the thing is profitable. He already sees the future of the thing. Now, I won't even struggle to vision cast because the numbers already vision cast. So the time to look for capital to not scale up, and I know I'm looking for capital investors. It's not the time when you're struggling. Bear the thing, the pressure, the whatever, absorb it, grow that thing until it is a particular level when investors will come by themselves. Then you'll have an edge on the table of men to negotiate a better deal.
Wow. So as you are giving us a preamble about Janaki and yourself, you talked about the milk supply gig. We call them gigs these days. That gig that you had, which gave birth to Janaki Holdings Limited that we see today. I wonder whether you're still doing that business.
I actually transitioned it to my friend.
Oh, okay.
Because I realized they had a number of other things. I'm like, you know what? She still has a contract.
Wow, that's very good. So, my question on this is that you must have encountered a lot. Like I see a lot of resilience where you're supposed to put in a lot of money as you wait for the monthly rollout by the company, and you're supposed to pay this person, the supplier, weekly. So very many young people, I'll not exclude myself, very many of us do not want to be all that patient. We want things that work out. I sell today, I'm paid there. Then I count this as what I've worked for. So what advice do you have for us?
The key advice I have, first of all, the thing of waiting for a month is not the key resilient thing that I've been resilient on. I've had bigger shots. I've had bigger challenges.
Like?
Because I had an opportunity. You know, time came when the demand for money was way high. Than the money I had. So I had to figure out where it is I would get the money. The first thing that came to my mind was go to the bank. Went to the bank, but I couldn't qualify for a loan. Looked to one of our family friends, has a lot of money. He was a close friend, so I'd go get money from him cheaply at 5% per month. Come and lend it out at 10%, sometimes 15%, then when I was still starting. So because I had access for money, I didn't struggle a lot to think on how to collect. That's one of the things also I would like to encourage entrepreneurs. Yeah. You give dates, you even have a book for dates. You have a loan from the bank. You cannot afford to have a book for dates or debtors. So because I had free access for money, as and when I would get a client, I would not even assist them very well. Just because I had access for money. Because I just call this guy, he says, meet me at Absa in Tinder. 100 million tip he gives you. I reached the moment when I had a debt of about 598 million. Looking at the account, I think the biggest money I had was like 5 million. Ooh. And this guy tells me, you know what, I need my money back. Involves the lawyer, says, man, I need my money. Now tell me. I had now double check. These loans that we've been giving out, how can you collect? Because I had access for money, I didn't have a collection strategy. How I was meant to collect from the client. Literally, someone will tell you, no, I'm paying you next week, and you're like, okay, next week it is. You wait. Because you're in a comfortable zone. Now, before I knew it, I started getting excited to buy land. Get excited to buy nice car. You know that kind of excitement of having money, but which is not your own. And that's the challenge that
but there's that contentment you have. I have this money on my
Thank you. I can see it. I can touch it. And that's the challenge we usually have.
Yes.
You're not knowing that you're using bank money, that you're using a loan. And that's how businesses crumble. So what I've learned from some of those challenges, and what I could actually share with people out there, our audience, is that it is important that before you think of extravagancy or think about the money that you're actually using in the business. If it is your own money, well and good, but are you making profit from the money that you have? Is it profitable, the thing that you're running? We are running businesses sometimes out of passion.
Yeah.
You actually very well know that at the end of the month, you're not balancing a single shilling. True. But you're still in business. Someone tells you, what do I do? All I have to work. That's not work. Because work is meant to be profitable. Work that is not profitable is not work. It's a waste of time. So I advise that you assess what it is that you're doing. Assess, is it profitable? Because it's the profitability of that thing that can afford you to even get cheap money. If it's struggling, you can't even access cheap money.
Yeah.
So I advise that, assess your thing. If it's not profitable, close it. But also, about being resilient for young people. It is important to know that we have a proverb in our culture that when you're young, you're meant to build for your old age. The point I started at Janaki Holdings Limited at 2 years is not the level I'm at right now.
Yeah.
It's a different level altogether. But I didn't get there in just 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Been running for the last 10 or so years. So I've seen a bit of time. So there are some things that you have to appreciate as you progress. There are some things you're not going to experience at 2 years when you're meant to experience them at 10 years. I cannot start 1 year and I want to have 10 branches. That would be madness. Because I've not even mastered the one branch. Then I cannot replicate it.
True.
So the challenge we have with young people, with ourselves, we are too ambitious.
Yeah.
That we even crumble ourselves. You get too ambitious that your own ambition crumbles yourself and your company.
True.
And you see, the statement I usually utter is that you're not doing this business for you alone. Now, if you're consuming your own things that you're producing, you alone and your family, then before long you're going to close. Because a business thrives because it has clients.
Yeah.
So you're serving a number of clients. So meaning that the public will need your service. So if you close, they will lose out on your service. There's that uniqueness of your service, of your business. Point number 2, you're employing a number of people. Which people have other dependents? So you might think you're employing 5 people, but yet you're employing 50 people. So as you're doing your kavuyo, as you're doing your taka, it is important to know that you're not doing it for you alone, but a chain of other people. So before God,
when you mess, you're messing up over 50 people.
You got it. You got it. So the moment you have that kind of mind, I'll know that every penny that I save at Janaki Holdings Limited matters. I'll know that every deal that I close at Janaki Holdings matters. Because it's not for Jonan and my family alone. It is Jonan and the staff and the people who consume of us. Do you know the number of businesses that we support? We have a chunk of businesses that we support.
Yeah.
We have guys that we've worked with 10 years, 5 years, 8 years. You see literally a person growing from 2 million to 3 million to 50 million to 100 million to 150 million. But if Jonakee did not exist, that client would not have existed.
Exactly.
Because at a certain point, that person came for a facility without even a collateral. I have some testimonies that I have even on my WhatsApp. I usually post them on our website. Someone tells you, what you did for me, I cannot explain. Because as I opened in my statement, our intention is not the collateral that you have or the word, but your ability to pay. But also, the thing that you're actually running, is it profitable? One of the guys I could highlight, I won't mention the name, because some of the things are confidential.
Yeah.
So one thing I could highlight is that one of the guys was doing supplies. He's been doing this thing for quite a while, and his cash flows were very good, but not commensurate to the amount of money that he wanted. He had cash flows, but in the ranges of 5 million, 3, 5, but he wanted about 20 million. And he came and applied for a facility. We assessed him, looked at the contract he had been given, and said, you know what? I told my staff, said, you know what? Because they involve my staff, all decisions. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that collect. So I said, you know what, my staff? This is the thing before us. This guy, we know him. He's been actually partly giving us services. Do you propose that we give money? Because in the heart of hearts, I feel it that, this guy, the deal is real. He's been in the trade for quite some time. He understands it. I think he can actually deliver good service and get paid, and he pays us. Lo and behold, he was paid. But if you look at his testimony, you can't believe it. Other financials had jumped to give him money. He says, I can't believe Jonakee could actually trust me when no one trusted me. Now that statement made my night. I knew that, Jonakee is in this business for a long haul. Because I have a vision at hand, I have a task, I have accomplishments to do in this world.
So taking us to what you said with that, had you now looked at it as something that benefits you and your family alone, you wouldn't have such testimonies?
Absolutely not.
Wow. I know we are almost heading towards the end of this show, but we cannot just go like that. First of all, we want to thank you so much for sparing this time to come and share with us these words of wisdom. These are words that you rarely get from finance, from money, from people who do what you do.
Financial institutions.
Exactly. They what matters is what you have to present as collateral to get the loan. So no one will ever sit you down to advise you. And I believe there is someone who had intentions of maybe applying for a loan somewhere, and that have benefited out of this discussion. And even that one who will watch this show after it has aired on our social media platforms, on YouTube, I believe they'll all be impacted the same. But even as we are heading towards the end, what are your last remarks, and what advice do you have to an African youth watching us this evening?
My last remark is that you today will not be the same as you tomorrow. There's always hope. Once you lose hope, you've lost everything. But also one thing I want to present is that every day that rolls, new opportunities show up. If you have something that is working well, see how you can outgrow it, assign it to people, create something new. Because you see, you've mastered the thing. And that's what I do. I've mastered the thing, raise people whom you can deploy, and they run the thing. Go beyond that thing, start something different. And then maybe finally, what I would advise both young and old people is that until you've tested the business, you cannot know the capacity you have to run a business. So if you've been having an idea that you've thought about for 10 years, 15 years, and even sometimes you even reserve the people that you share it with, thinking that they will steal it. Don't steal it. Start the thing. Because there are some things that I experienced only when Janaki Holdings set off, which I wouldn't have experienced if I didn't take off. So to people who are watching us, to the audience, what idea is it that you've been thinking about for a while? What is that business you've been thinking about for a while? Go out and start it. Because it will not start from your sitting room. You have to actually get your hands dirty. The start is usually hard. I won't lie to you. It's not just, it's not flowers. It is harder. But when you get up there, it gets sweeter.
Wow.
So it's important that you actually get to start, and that's when you can actually taste the sweetness. You see, when you're harvesting honey, I've harvested honey with my hands. When you're harvesting honey, the bees sting you.
Yeah.
And a sting of a bee, one bee like this can make you cry. But imagine if you have harvested a beehive that has maybe 1,000 bees, how many of the bees will sting you? Quite a number. But ultimately, you get the honey, and it's very, very sweet.
Yeah.
And then you get to appreciate the energy that you put into actually harvest the honey.
Wow. So, just in case you joined us when we have already started, one thing you didn't know that we have a pastor in the house, and since it is night, I'll request you to give us at least a 1-minute prayer as we wind up this this program.
Yes. Now let's humble ourselves for the word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening. We thank you for the discussion we've had. Father, we know that you planned it that at this particular time would be here for this conversation. Father, we know that this conversation is going to reach to a number of youth, both in Uganda and the world at large. Father, may the words that we have spoken impact someone out there, that even when has been thinking about that idea and not taking a step, may they get the courage to take the step. But also for those who have been relying a lot on debt, may they now open their eyes to know that there is a better opportunity, that there is a Lord that provides. Because in Psalms 24:1 you say that the earth and everything therein belongs to you. Father, you own everything. And out of your abundance, you can actually facilitate our lives, our families, and our businesses. Give us the courage to trust you and to know that you're God. We are just stewards. We are just managing these things. We are just managing these resources. We are just managing these businesses. May you give us that vision and revelation. And then we shall get to implement, and we shall get to take a step of faith and start a few things. We trust you, believe you. In Jesus' name we pray and believe.
Amen. And may God bless you until we meet again next Monday. Good night.